Thank you so much for talking to me, Marty. So before we get started, we're going to be talking about the Authorized Training Organization program. So would you mind telling me a little bit about your role in that program and introducing yourself a little bit?
Sure. Haley, thank you. My name is Marty Wenzik, and I am the program chair for ASNT on the Authorized Training Organization. The training program, the ATO program started about four and a half years ago, and they asked me to take the leadership position in that.
Yeah, so at a basic level, what is the ATO program and what does it mean to become ATO accredited?
Great question. What does it mean to become accredited? Haley, the way I'm going to answer that is I'm going to ask you a question.
Oh, okay, I hope I'm ready.
You're ready, you're ready. Did you go to college?
Yes.
Did you graduate?
Yes.
What's your degree in?
English and professional writing.
Where'd you go?
Ohio State University.
The Ohio State University?
The Ohio State University.
You have to add the word "the" in there.
Yes,
okay.
I'll get in trouble.
Yeah, that's right, you'll get in trouble. Okay, now that was all set up. Now I'm going to ask you the real question I want to ask you. Is it Ohio State University accredited?
Yes, I sure hope so.
Yes. There is a difference between an unaccredited school and an accredited school. So who accredits the Ohio State University?
Ah, you stumped me.
Okay, you probably don't know. And I'm sure most of us who even have college degrees would never know the answer to that. Accreditation is something that actually started after the Second World War. Okay, the GIs came home from the Second World War, and there was a lot of money given to the GIs for the sake of improving their lifestyle because of what they did for their country. So what went wrong very quickly was GIs could buy a house maybe with their money. They could go to school. Well, they were going to school, but at the same time, some industries got smart and said, we're going to start our own school. And so you could come to my school and I could teach you maybe accounting, or maybe I'd teach you how to weld. Okay, not accredited, or accreditation didn't exist.
Sure.
So what happened, the GIs were getting ripped off. So because of that, they went back to the Veterans Administration, who went to the Department of Education to try to solve this. And the Department of Education at that time said, we're going to start an accreditation service so only schools that are accredited can get GI Bill money. That's how accreditation started way back in the 1940s. And it actually went on in through the beginning of this century.
Okay.
As recently as in the early 2000s, you could send money to a school and get a PhD in nuclear science based on life experiences, okay? And never attend a school. And the reason for that is, although the federal government created accreditation, the schools are governed by a state, not by the federal government. So the way that they canceled that out is we won't give you any money if you're not accredited. So that's what accredited. It gives you your degree, the power it has.
Yeah.
Okay, as opposed to somebody who just has life experiences. So what ATO is similar to the whole thing. We created a third-party system of reviewing an NDT training organization to a standard. We created a standard, and if they pass and they go through our everything, that they become accredited, they can claim that they are an accredited school. Because NDT training unto its own is so diversified. It's not like a college. You know, I mean, you can go to a college and take NDT classes. It's possible, but you could go to a VOTEC school. An employer can train people. Consultants can train people. So because of that bandwidth of problems, we have an accreditation process that fits all.
Yeah. So you touched on this a little bit, but what kinds of organizations can become ATO accredited?
Yeah. As I just said, you know, I kind of categorize them into four different pots. Colleges, universities, accredited schools, right? I just used that word, accredited, you just did. Okay, private license schools. Private license schools are licensed by the state. And most states require anybody teaching a trade technology to be licensed by their state. Okay, VOTEC schools, VOTEC schools. In other words, a VOTEC school is a type of a school that may support maybe a local high school in teaching high school, coming out of high school to how to weld, how to do NDT. Okay, and then the fourth category we have is consultants, private organizations who want to get that accreditation. You know, so we have it in four different categories. That's who can get it.
Yeah. So organizations are able to apply to the program to get the process started. And so I'm curious, what makes for a good application? What kinds of things are you looking for? And what might people not think of that they should be aware of?
Yeah. If you think of the categories, the four categories I just said, the application itself, the first part of it is document submittals. You want to become a school, then we're going to ask you, how do you handle, and there's a number of categories. So some of the categories schools can answer easily, or consultants can, but some of them are difficult, okay? In the first section of the application, we're asking about finances. Do you carry insurance? Does your school carry insurance? What happens if a student falls, breaks their leg? Are you insured? Okay. Do you have the financial stability if you stop your class? Will you give money back to students, or have you already spent it? See, so ideas like that, and you put it into that wheel, the 4 different segments that I talked about. Some of that makes sense to colleges maybe, but consultants, that may be a whole different issue.
Right.
Okay, so the application, it requires submittals of a number of items that we want to see how you handle. And we know that there's more than one answer for a specific question. We recognize that too.
Yeah. So you mentioned how in NDT we have such a variety of training organizations out there already. What is the benefit to these organizations of becoming ATO accredited?
Benefits. There's a number of different benefits. The first one is, by becoming an ATO, you're showing an accountability. You're showing that you're not just and I'll just say this facetiously, you're not just a guy who's saying, hey, I'll teach you whatever you want to teach. That's what I teach. No, this is accountability. You have a management system in place, that you have documentation, you have course syllabus, you have a planned program, outlines on what you're going to teach. You have records to show how you handle it. You have accountability in what you're doing in those records. So that creates a more positive environment for the school and for the student who's going in to attend that class.
Yeah.
Okay, another one is industry trust. Think of this for a second, if in the industry, if I'm an employer, okay, and I'm interested in having people trained, do I go for the lowest price because a person comes in and bids a job to teach penetrant testing in a low price? Or do I go to a school that offers a price, but they're accredited by ASNT? Big difference, because in industry, ASNT's brand is well known. Okay, so I have to meet codes and standards if I'm that employer. If I'm building a pressure vessel, I have to meet this ASNT TC1A document about qualifying personnel. So I got a cheap price over here, but I have a school that obviously, by using the ASNT logo, they must understand what this is. Okay, so there's a big difference in that. Also, by going to an organization, a ATO like that, what you're also seeing is an assurance of quality. And what I mean by that is they don't just fly by night on how they do their administration. They have they're implementing some sort of a quality management system. I don't know what but for accountability of what they're doing. So that makes the student, that makes the employer, that makes industry feel a lot better also. The other advertising benefits, that's another plus. The ASNT logo. ASNT has a policy called G14, and it talks about how you can use the ASNT logo. And in there, it also talks about how an ATO can use the logo. So, but an ATO can use it on marketing material. They can use it on a website. They can use it on a certificate. They can use it on transcripts, things like that. So there is that branding that an ATO picks up by being able to use it with their own company logo or organization logo. Okay, and then the last thing is I call risk management. Okay, risk management, and I'll put myself as the employer. I want to take as low as risk as possible in doing, I want things done right, but I want to take the lowest risk possible in getting things done right. So if I see an ASNT school over here, or organization, and I see somebody just knocking on my door, and I used that before, but I see that, I'm going to say, wait a second, I'm going to go with this program. And there's a big reason a lot of people don't think about, and that is insurance. If I'm an owner of a company and I'm insured, my insurers come in and will ask me questions like, how did these people learn NDT?
Yeah.
And so there's more credibility this way. Okay, so that's another reason.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's taking the culture that we've had in NDT for a long time of the importance of standards and certification for the individual personnel, and it's applying it as well to the training providers that are.
It is. What if you think about ASNT has a strategic pillar. Pillar number one, pillars support a foundation. Right? ASNT's foundation is in supporting the NDT industry. Well, the first pillar is on qualification, certification of personnel. The ATO program, I see it as like a tool in the ASNT toolbox. It's one of many tools. You know, it's not the only one, but it supports by challenging the qualification process, the prerequisites, because there's three: education, experience, and training are the three prerequisites. So training is one, and of course we're looking at looking at the organization providing the training.
Yeah. Is there anything else that our listeners should know about the ATO program?
I think you've addressed everything. You know, the ATO program is still in its infancy. It is available worldwide. We are talking to other countries have contacted the ATO for interest. So that's an interesting, something that can, matter of fact, that happened very quickly through ASNT's marketing blast. So we're not limited to that. The program also, I tell you that the ATO program is good for 5 years. Okay, but we'll come out in probably around 2.5 years out to see how you're doing, how the organization's doing. So the certification itself is good for 5 years, and it is renewable too.
So you mentioned how one of the benefits to an organization becoming ATO accredited is the ability to use the ASNT logos and be able to lean on the ASNT brand recognition as part of what can give people confidence about attending their training organization. And I know we often talk about how there's often misuse of ASNT logos. So can you talk a little bit about the strength of this brand and of working with the ATO program to have the official ASNT kind of stamp of approval, as it were?
Sure. In answering your question, in a way I'm going to reverse it, because what got me interested in ATO was I could go out on the internet and I could easily find schools that say, oh, we do ASNT training. And it's like, really? There's no training organization here related to it, you know, and they misuse the ASNT logo. And I think honesty is a strong part of integrity, and we base as an inspector, we base how we conduct ourselves on honesty and integrity. So that issue is that hits home with me, and that actually was one of the elements of why I got involved with ATO. There's a branding issue here related to the ASNT. It's an implied branding. ASNT, as we know, is the world's largest singular NDT organization. So there is that, by using that brand into being allowed to use that brand into the marketing materials of a school. Yes, we are against, truly against how the brand is used, and we have outlines. Policy G14 is one of our ASNT's policies, and it describes what you can and can't do. We go out and we do back checks on that. We're watching how an organization uses it. We don't want an organization to come out and say, hey, if you take this course and there's an ASNT logo on it, this is the best course in the world, and you'll automatically wake up tomorrow and be a level 3. Well, you can't do that, right? And I know that's an exaggeration, but the issue is you're using the ASNT brand, and we can't allow that. You know, we want it to be accurate.
Yeah, so it sounds like having this accreditation program in place strengthens that brand now we have something that people can go to on our website and see this one is legitimate, and somebody else might be misusing it, but we have this legitimate one to fall back on.
Very true. Yeah, and of course, you know, if you consider companies, training organizations do compete against each other, just as we all do in industry. So that's a good one-upsmanship, if you will, by having an ASNT brand.
Yeah. So I know we have some organizations that have already been through the ATO accreditation process. So what has been the feedback from them in terms of how the process went, and how is ASNT kind of following up and keeping in touch with those organizations?
We started last year. So we're still in its infancy, but last year we started the pilot program, and we decided what we wanted to do was go out with 3 organizations. Those organizations, one was a college, one was a private licensed school, and one is an organization who offers NDT training. Okay, so we picked one out of each of those 3 categories. And what happened was the college, because of other commitments after they started, they kind of went into the background. Okay, the private license school went all the way through ultimately and became our first ATO. And the private organization, again, they had managerial changes. Now, the update on that is the college and the private training organization, they're coming back into play. They want to finish what they started. Okay, so that's the good news out of a bad situation. So the private license school itself they could meet our administrative requirements rather quickly because being a licensed school, a lot of the things we asked for, they already did. Okay, so it was kind of easy for them. But it can, as I said before, it can apply to the other places too. What we've learned since we've started is the feedback from organizations overall has been very positive. Some of them said it's kind of grinding, you know, because we're asking for things that they're not used to.
Right.
And that's an expectation. What we tell people during the process, we're not adversarial. That's the last thing in the world we want to do. We're your best phone a friend. We really will be. We're very open about what we're looking for. And there's a reason for that. We see the whole buildup of this program is triadic in nature. In other words, three-sided. In other words, a student can benefit from it. Excuse me. The school can benefit from it if it's conducted, and then ultimately industry benefits from it too. So everybody can benefit. So if you need help, there's nothing better more than we can do that we can help. I've been asked, well, what happens if we can't answer everything? I said, I don't think we're going to hit that road. I said, we will help each other until the school says we're done. You know, but I have not seen anything like that. That, you know, it's been very, we've been very upfront and it's been very positive.
Yeah. So we've talked about the benefit to providers in getting this ATO accreditation, but what is the benefit to the NDT industry as a whole in having this program in place? Good
question. The industry in a whole, how does the schooling benefit? The best way I can answer that is it is extremely important to have properly trained individuals to know what they're doing and how to make judgment calls based on their knowledge of training. In my background, historically, I worked for the government at one time. I worked for the Department of the Navy, and I was trained on things called Thresher and Scorpion, and I'll bet you don't, I mean, maybe you know what they are. They are submarines that imploded. People lost their lives. Now, I learned there's nothing more important than doing, we learned subsequently in the government that inspection was a critical factor in what caused that. There is nothing in the world more important than looking at something and making the right call. Because it's easy to say something's good, but when something's bad, the very first question is, what's wrong with it and how did it happen? And that can get uncomfortable for an inspector. So an inspector needs properly trained to be able to make that call. He'll have backup, but he's by himself and he sees something and it's like, okay, what do I do? And they can become uncomfortable in telling somebody that something's bad, you know. But that's the best thing in the world to do to solve a problem. If we're adversarial and I say something's bad and you say it's good, you know, if we come to a good resolution, that's the best thing in the world, right? So there's nothing more important than learning proper training. Okay.
So we know that in this industry, oftentimes the training is happening at the company at level, often by the level 3, and we have an employer-based certification program as well. So. How does this ATO accreditation relate to that scheme? Are there ways that they're connected? Do they live kind of side by side?
Well, as it is right now, both the EBC program and the ATO program are part of ASNT Certification Services accreditation. The EBC program is looking at a level 3 can provide that training. That's that wide bandwidth. You know, I call it a wide bandwidth of the type of training that can be offered in industry. It's not wrong, but if employers have a level 3 to do that. If you look at the scope of an industry, and there's many, you know, there's at least 5 different industry segments. Okay, and ASNT even shows that on their website. There's a manufacturing, there's energy, there's infrastructure. So when you look at that bandwidth of that, not everybody has a level 3.
Right.
Okay, that's the first thing. So what the ATO program, it only focuses on training. We're not doing the qualification or certification or assessing that area. That's what EBC's doing. They're related to the personnel quals. We're just micro-focused on NDT training itself. So in that wide bandwidth, when I said most often people don't have level 3s in their organization, you know, they want to go out and contract it out regarding the training. Now, as part of their program. I believe EBC would recognize that. I'm not saying they're required to or anything like that. Yeah, that would be a question for EBC, but the program would have an ASNT logo on it, Certification Services logo, right?
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Marty, and for talking about all of this. And if anybody who's watching is interested to learn more, they can visit our website, certification.asnt.org, and under the accreditation tab, they can find out more about this program. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you.